You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, as it should. Because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. Hopefully you guys are all well. We got some things we got to talk about, guys. We got some things going on, and what is going on, y'all? What is going on with the world that we know of as of late? 2025 be 2025, and let me just say that, okay? And my thoughts and prayers to everybody who is involved in this situation, families that are affected by this situation and all that. We have something very big going on in the North Sea, right by the UK, and it's something I never thought we'd ever have a conversation about, ever. And we've heard of situations like this before, or bad things that happen to the ocean, to the sea itself, but I've never heard anything like this before in my life. Okay? We've seen other things, but this one takes the cake. Do me a favor before we get into everything. Please do me a favor, hit that like button down below. We got some things to talk about today. This just came out. This was just some breaking news information, so I want to be one of the ones out there talking about this situation. I know that there's probably some other people that have talked about this situation, but of course, I want to add my 2 cents into the conversation. So hit that like button down below, please, and thank you. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. That would be amazing, okay? If you are on those other platforms like TikTok, Facebook, X/Twitter, Rumble, please be sure to hit that follow button. Follow, okay? I try to do as many of these lives on as many platforms as I can simultaneously. Sometimes I forget, sometimes I ain't got time for it. But please make sure you follow me on all those. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here on my main channel, the YouTube channel, The Pascal Show. Go over to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show Clips. I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of stuff that we're talking about over there, that we're not talking about over here, and vice versa. So make sure you're subscribed. Hit that notification bell. Make sure it's set to all, so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because a lot of times it's breaking news and it's random. So make sure you do that on both channels, this channel and the Pascal Show Clips channel on YouTube, okay? Hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon, check out my locals, and don't forget, check out pascalmerch.com. We got some great stuff. It's nice. Our stuff is so nice. Woo! Makes you want to jump back and kiss yourself 17 times, okay, when you're wearing the clothes. Okay, so go check out pascalmerch.com. Okay, guys, after all that mucky muck is out of the way, and as you guys start to file in some stuff that's going on in the North Sea, okay, this is very, very strange and heartbreaking at the same time, and terrifying, to be completely real. There's a situation where an oil tanker and a cargo ship collided. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This is not a joke. We've just dealt with another thing about a month or so ago, where a jet, regional jet, American Airlines regional jet collided. Actually, let me flip that around, actually. A Black Hawk helicopter collided with an American Airlines regional jet. Now, so I guess we're already properly vetted when it comes to dealing with collisions. But this is very weird to me, because this is no matter what, let me just say this too. Okay. The situation with the plane or the helicopter colliding with the plane, that's unprecedented as well. That is very odd. It's very weird. Doesn't make any earthly sense to me at all. Let me just make sure I say that too. But this is weird. This doesn't make any sense to me at all either. They in the ocean, okay? To me, this doesn't make sense. And how could this even have possibly happened to two ships that are sailing in the sea, right? But let's get into this. We got some things to look into and all that stuff. But by the way, please do me a favor. Okay. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do that for me. All right. Your boy's working hard out here in these streets. So please show some love if you can. Hit that subscribe button. Okay. We do have some other stuff that we will be talking about in a few hours. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure that notification bell is set to all. Okay. Make sure that thing is on. And if you haven't been getting notifications, turn that bell off and turn it right back on again. Okay. Trust me. There's some other things that we're going to be bringing up and we definitely need to bring to light and have conversations about as well. Okay. So let's get into this. Oil tanker and cargo ship collide in North Sea. So a major rescue operation has been launched after an oil tanker and a cargo vessel collided in the North Sea off the East Yorkshire coast, with reports both vessels are on fire. I'll just show you. This is what we're seeing, okay? And don't worry, we're going to look at footage and all. We're going to see all the beautiful bean footage and all that stuff, okay? All right. So, it's jet fuel, not oil. Okay. Well, let's find out. Okay. Let's see what the information, okay, is going on. All right. But that's interesting that it's carrying jet fuel and not oil. But again, if it's not carrying oil but jet fuel, no matter what, isn't jet fuel highly combustible as well? So yes, I guess it's a good thing, but not really. And isn't it still bad for the environment? Isn't it still bad for the fishies and, that are down there under the sea? You know what I mean? Isn't that bad still too? So no matter what, I don't know if it's thankfully, because wildlife is still screwed, right? So again, still highly combustible, as you can see just in this photo alone. Okay, flames on the side of my face, all over there, right? And it still can do some serious damage to wildlife. So again, I don't know if it's thankfully or not. It's still, to me, bad news bears. Let's continue on though. HM Coast Guard said the incident happened near the Humber Estuary. I don't know how to pronounce that, but pardon me for butchering that. Okay. And the alarm was raised at, 9:48 GMT on Monday. Okay. So with a number of lifeboats and Coast Guard helicopters sent to the scene, and a helicopter, Coast Guard helicopter sent to the scene. So far, which is still terrible, and I'm sure the number will change, 32 casualties have been brought ashore. But some crew members were yet to be accounted for, according to Martin Boyers, chief executive of the Port Grimsby East. So Mr. Boyers said he had been told there was a massive fireball. The vessels involved in the collision are the U.S. flagged Stena Immaculate tanker and the Solong, okay, a Portuguese flagged container ship, according to data from the ship tracking website Marine Traffic. The BBC, the article we're reading here, has spoken to the chief executive of Stena Bulk, Eric Hannell, who confirmed all the crew of Stena Immaculate were accounted for and safe, which is good news. But still we have, and counting, 32, I've heard other accounts of 35 individuals losing their lives due to this collision, okay? Earlier, the RNLI said there were reports that a number of people had abandoned the vessels following a collision, and there were flames or fires on both ships. Mr. Boyer said, it's too far out for us to see, about 10 miles, but we have seen the vessels bringing them in. They must have sent a mayday out. Luckily, there was a crew transfer vessel out there already. Since there has been a flotilla. That's a new one for me. A flotilla of ambulances to pick up anyone they can find. The casualties conditions remain unclear. All right. The Coast Guard Rescue helicopter from Humberside is called out alongside lifeboats from Skegness, Bridlington, Mablethorpe, and Cleethorpes, and HM Coast Guard fixed wing aircraft and nearby vessels with firefighting capability. So the incident remains ongoing. This is what the Coast Guard said. According to the Marine Traffic, the Stena Immaculate had traveled from the Greek port of this particular Greek port. I'm not going to butcher that, okay? And was anchored by the Humber Astouri. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The Solong had been sailing from the Scottish port of Grangemouth to Rotterdam in the Netherlands. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Marine Accident Investigation Branch said it had deployed a team to Grimsby. They said the Marine Accident Investigation Branch has deployed a team to Grimsby following the collision of the Portuguese registered container ship Solong and the U.S. registered oil tanker Stena Immaculate, which collided in the North Sea this morning. Our teams of inspectors and support staff are gathering evidence and undertaking a preliminary assessment of the accident to determine our next steps. So again, this is the question that I still have. Like that's the one thing for me, I'm going, how did this happen, right? How did this all happen? How did this all go down the way it went down? Because it just doesn't make any sense to me, okay? Just to be completely real, it just is not making any earthly sense to me at all. But we got a few things we're going to be looking at. This is just so strange to me. Just out of nowhere, these boats just collide. These ships, okay, collide out of nowhere, and there's no way of like, there's no. Let's just say there was no fair warning. Ships go pretty fast in the water, but they're not going lightning fast. So you mean you just didn't see the boat? You didn't see the other ship? And then the other thing is how far out was this visibility? How far out? How does this mistake happen? It just doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. But let's take a look at a few things here. We got Sky News with some reports here. They've been going live about this whole thing. So let's take a look at this as well.
The environmental activist group have issued a statement in the last few minutes. Let me read it out to you. It says, "We are monitoring reports of a cargo vessel crashing into an oil tanker off the coast of Yorkshire. Both the high speed of the collision and the footage of the aftermath are cause for great concern." Please say right now, our thoughts are...
Now, it does say here, I'm going to scroll this back a little bit. And for those of y'all who are watching on TikTok, I don't have it on TikTok, just so you know. It's over here on YouTube. But what's interesting about this is the tanker was actually, yes, you're right. Jet fuel was on board, right? Which, of course, it's not oil, but at the same time, it's still just as damaging, right? Still just as damaging. But let me roll this back a little bit more as Sky News gives us the news about the oil tanker and the spillage of the jet fuel, right? Let's continue, though, okay? Now, very interesting what's happening here, okay? This is terrible. 32, according to that report, is subject to change, obviously, the number of casualties. They could have it wrong. They could have it accurate. They could have it all the way up to date. It could be wrong. There could be 40. We don't know, all right? But right now, as far as that reporting goes from the BBC, they say that it's about 32 people that were found perished. Okay. So let us continue. I know my British accent's terrible, but just trying to keep it entertaining. Still, no matter what, this is devastating information. And I still want to know, how does this happen? How does this happen? If visibility was visible, okay, if that makes any sense, if you could see as far as the eye can see out there in the ocean, why would this collision even happen? That doesn't, And then they're going, I don't know what they say on the ships. Instantly I'm saying, ahoy, right? But aren't they saying like, ship such and such area, let us, change course, right? So how could that, you know what I mean? How does that happen? It's the same thing like when we were asking about the Black Hawk and the American Airlines regional jet. How does that happen? How? Yeah, my pirate speak is hilarious, Medusa. Yes, Yarg me, matey, So again, how does that happen? How is this happening? And again, we had it in the air. Now we have it by sea. How does this happen? So let's hear what Sky News has to say.
To the Coast Guard that was broadcast to other ships in the vicinity of all of this, asking for them to help.
53 degrees, 4.4.20 minutes north. I say again, 53 degrees, 4.4.20 minutes north. 000 degrees, 23.75 minutes east. So Long has collided with tanker Stena Immaculate in the outer anchorage. Both vessels are abandoning. Vessels who have firefighting equipment or who can assist with search and rescue, contact Humber Coast Guard on channel 16. Vessel Stena Immaculate is carrying Jet A1 fuel, which is on fire and in the water. Request vessels remain at a safe distance. Humber Coast Guard coordinating, date time group 101000 UTC. This is Humber Coast Guard.
Well, listening there to the Coast Guard's appeal for help from vessels in the area off the coast of East Yorkshire following that collision. The Coast Guard saying in that message that the So Long has collided with the outer anchorage of the Stena Immaculate. Both vessels are abandoning, the Coast Guard said in that message, appealing for anyone with firefighting equipment in the vicinity to get there and try and help.
Okay, real quick, I'm getting some comments on TikTok where they're saying that this was due to dense fog. Now, I don't know if that's entirely true, but I'm looking at this footage here and I see, definitely some visibility issues, but is that due to the smoke that's in the air, right? There's a lot of smoke out here, a lot. So instantly I go, well, was this fog, okay, or was this whatever this is, was that here before the collision actually happened? But again, don't they have devices for stuff like that? Like, real talk. Don't they have devices for that? With all due respect, don't they have devices for that? Ships passing in the night, that kind of thing, don't they have? You know what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense for them to be like, oh, it was so foggy outside, we could not see. They sail. There are ships sailing all the time. Across many seas. Some of the most vicious of seas, right? Vicious of oceans and all that, right? And sometimes it's pitch black. Sometimes it's foggy as hell. Don't they have devices for that stuff? Right? So again, that doesn't make any sense. It's the same thing with planes. Planes, aircraft of any kind. They have devices. Because for a fact, sometimes you're flying in the worst type of weather and almost in a way, you're flying blind. Oh, I hate to even say that, but it is that way. You're flying blind. So, of course, you have devices, other pieces that are helping you navigate through some of the worst type of weather. So I would assume, like I said, I am not, I don't know anything about sea navigation or anything of that sort, but I would assume that there's been plenty of situations where boats were almost on the same course and they have to change course so that they don't collide or, have a catastrophe with another boat. Think about all the freaking vacation boats, cruises that people go on and all that stuff. I mean, come on. Think about all that stuff too. They're sailing through the night. It's not like they're just sailing during the time when the weather's perfect, when it's broad daylight. They're still navigating through the night too. So again, there's plenty of ships out there, all sailing in the same sea. So how could this have possibly happened? Regardless if it was beautiful visibility as far as the eye could see, or if it was foggy as hell. Just seems strange to me, don't you think? Diddy did it. I'm done. Okay. But real talk, something about this just seems a little bit weird to me. But let's continue on. Like I said, I've heard that it was dense, but I'm looking to see about fog, right? I'm looking those things up to see if there's anything about fog. So I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and just give me a second, grant me a little grace. I'm going to try to find them talking about that. But even still, I'm going to say again, still does not make sense for them to suddenly say, "Oh, it's because of it's so foggy out there." Huh? I don't know. Okay. Trace, thank you. Okay. It takes almost an hour to turn or redirect a big ship. So you mean to tell me, let me just ask this then. Okay. Because Trace seems to know a lot of information here and I appreciate it. But let me just say this. Okay. If it takes almost an hour to redirect the course of a ship, that would mean to me that they're screwed no matter what. If they find out just 15 minutes before potential collision, they can't even change course at all, no matter what. But even so, wouldn't you have devices to know, okay, there's a ship in the same course as us. We need to move, right? If what Trace is saying is true, then that's some crazy stuff. That's unfortunate. You got to predict the future, basically. Oh, damn. We got somebody 3 hours away. We must change course. So then no matter what, if they were to know, why didn't this happen? Or why did this happen? I'm sorry. Okay. And then, yeah. So then, okay, again, she says, they say, no, they planned the route ahead of time. One of the ships was off course. So then that's what I'm trying to say right here, guys. Why was this ship off course? That doesn't make any sense. So again, doesn't even matter. If they saw what was going on, how could this ship go straight into this other ship if things are planned ahead of time? So instantly the question is, why were they off course? That seems weird. And again, yeah, they have all these devices to make sure that ships are away from each other so that there is no collision like this. And yet suddenly out of nowhere, there's a collision like this. That doesn't make any sense, guys. It just doesn't. I with all due respect, I know some of y'all will be like, and I get it, but and of course, she had to make it so British. That's the $1 million question, love. Well, here's the thing. It's the $1 million question because we're Americans. No, I'm kidding. Sorry. I'm just kidding. All right. But yes, it is the $1 million question and the £1 million question for sure. Okay. What actually happened here and why did they collide with this doggone? Why did they collide? It just doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. Okay. It just doesn't. But let's continue on. Let's take a look at this. I'm just playing, guys. I love everybody. You know what I mean? God bless. I'm just kidding. I love everybody. Okay. The million quid question. Isn't it a million quid? That's what the milkman's kid just said. Huh. And that title's kind of diabolical. It's like the pool boy's kid. You know what I'm saying? Sorry for the left turn, but that just took me took me out. Your name is amazing. Because there could be a double meaning in that, my brother. Moving on though. Okay. How could this have happened? Right? They collided with each other. There's a lot of information floating back and forth. So let's continue on, okay? But this is terrible. Of course, thoughts and prayers go out to everybody with this situation. This is scary, okay? Again, very, very scary. But let's take a look at a little bit more. I'm going to pull this thing up. I just need to read a little bit of this article just to make sure it's talking about visibility, if there was any, issue of visibility and all that, but that still does not quench my thirst, okay? Oh, and that's what's up. That's what's up. That's dope. That's dope, okay? Thank you for your father's service. A lot of kids got their calcium. So I appreciate them. That's why I drink milk. Moving on, though. Let's take a look at this.
The Coast Guard, they're saying that A1 jet fuel was on board the Stena Immaculate, and that is on fire and in the water. So the fuel from the Stena Immaculate has spilled. Let's bring in now Rob Spray, who's a conservation diver, for his perspective on all of this. Rob, thanks for being with us. And that is the confirmation there. We've had it come in from Crowley, who run the Stena Immaculate, and also we can hear it there from the Coast Guard that ship was carrying A1 jet fuel, and that fuel is now in the water. What is the concern from here about that fuel being in the sea?
A1 jet fuel.
I think I'm not a petrochemical specialist, but I guess that's up the lighter end of the fuels and the oils that could be carried. So it's liable to stay on the surface, and being more volatile, more of it'll burn off. My concern would be stuff that is lost into the water and spreads from there. It looks like at the moment we've got an environmental airborne catastrophe and hazard, and the wind will affect where that makes landfall. We might be lucky, we might not. And at the same time, there'll be plenty of sort of by-pollution particulates dropping into the water, and they could be manifesting for years to come, literally. And it takes a very long time for the products of huge ships like this to disperse.
What's really sad about this is, not only is it people losing their lives, of course, but now it's also the jet fuel that's now in the water. Yes, it's a good thing that it's burning, like it's floating at the top of the water. So a lot of it will burn, but at the same time, you got to remember all wildlife, right? All the fish, etc., that are breathing in that jet fuel is not good. And then, of course, let's not forget all the pollution from not only just from the ship wreckage, but also the cargo ships, whatever they were carrying. All that stuff is just going to be sinking into the ocean as well. So again, it's really, really sad that this whole thing, what's going on here, but it's terrifying if you really think about it too, because it's in the middle of the ocean, just out there in the middle of the ocean. This isn't like by land or anything. It's just right dead center in the middle of the ocean, which is really, really terrifying. Something I want to read to you guys off camera here, or off screen, because this is some information here. Okay, so the chief executive of the Port of Grimsby East spoke to Sky News, which we're also checking out Sky News here. So shout out to Sky News for all this information and for the live coverage. Real talk. All right. They said that the area had been foggy on Monday morning, which may have contributed to visibility issues. He said that at least 32 people have been brought into the port of Grimsby, and that some of them have been taken by ambulance to local hospitals. It remains unclear how many of those people were injured. Now, we heard that there were 32 casualties, right? So again, somebody said altogether 32 casualties were brought through the port, and there was a line of ambulances waiting to take them to Princess Diana Hospital, which is what they're still doing now. He also added this morning, it's been very foggy, and the fog has never lifted. So I would imagine that at the time when the accident took place, that there would have been fog. Again, I'm going to say, does that make sense to you when it comes to operating large ships like this? Because it was foggy outside, they didn't see the ship. Now, again, I'll say it again. I'm not a pro. Clearly, I'm not a pro. But there's something about this that seems a bit weird. They have devices for these things, radars, all that kind of stuff, right? Or maybe I've just watched Hunt for Red October way too often and Captain Phillips, okay? Look at me. I'm the captain now. So, and The Perfect Storm. But other than that, I could have sworn that there's, radars, that are going off, letting them know that they are that there's a ship in the same path, in the same trajectory, on the same course as them, and all that. So why would they not know what's going on here? There needs to be a serious investigation into this, because it seems, good God, I'm going to say it. It just, I don't want to wear the tinfoil hat, but I'm going to be wearing it right now. This feels intentional. I'm sorry. It feels intentional. This smells fishy. This smells fishy as hell to me. But again, I could be wrong. Let's continue.
Rob, before we move on to sort of the next stage of this, let's just drill down into what you mentioned then about this type of fuel, A1 jet fuel, and you described it as being the lighter end of the fuel, of course, as opposed to something like crude, which would be a much thicker, a heavier substance. How does that change then the response, if it changes it at all, Rob?
I think you're asking me for a massive overreach. I'm not a spill specialist, but I'd guess it's more like kerosene and paraffin. So it's a light, thin fuel. And rather than coming ashore in black slicks, that would likely float on the surface and is prone to burning. So on a scale of sort of 1 to terrible, it's not the worst it could be, because as a child, I remembered having clods of sort of spilt black crude oil on the beach for years after things like the sort of Torrey Canyon and whatever. This is a disaster. This is an environmental nightmare, but it's up the lighter end of that. So perhaps the effects will be shorter lived. There'll still be a lot of.
So they're saying it's bad, but it's not as bad, right? It's not as bad as oil, but it's not great either. So that's what he's saying. It's not so bad. I mean, it's still bad, but it's not as bad as oil. If this was oil, this will be even more catastrophic. It's still on the spectrum of catastrophic, but it's not on the hard side or the intense side of catastrophe. Still, no matter what, the collision is still absolutely terrifying. This is still wild, and it still just doesn't make any earthly sense to me, okay, how this could have possibly happened and all that. And yes, my knee-jerk reaction is this feels like this was intentional. I just feel like there's no way that this kind of accident could happen unless all of their equipment that detects these other ships out there just suddenly went haywire and did not work. That's the only other way I could look at it. You have specific devices and instruments on these ships specifically to avoid this type of stuff from happening. So again, This doesn't make any sense. Now, Victoria, let me read this too. All right. Victoria, thank you so much for the comment. So the tanker was anchored down and the cargo ship crashed into the tanker. It was misty, but you could see, like I said in earlier comments, they think the cargo ship was in autopilot. What? Okay. So someone explain that to me really quick. Thank you, Victoria, for the comment. Again, I need to see the report of that. So we got to take this information with a grain of salt. But I do find that intriguing, okay? Because I've been seeing that comment being said in the chat, in the family chat as well, that the tanker was actually anchored down, but the cargo ship is the one that crashed into the tanker. Why? That seems a little bit weird. And then again, autopilot? I need to see that proof. I need to see that information, but that seems a little bit odd, don't you think? Yeah, we're just going to put the boat on autopilot. It's going to be just fine. We're just right here. The ocean's wide open, baby. It's just wide. It's fine. We're just going to drive. We're just going to sail this boat right through. It's going to be just fine. Just put it on autopilot right here in this big open sea. No, there ain't going to be no casualties whatsoever. No problems whatsoever. Someone make that make sense. That's wild to me. Okay? That's wild. If that was the truth. And then again, see, because some people are like, well, as soon as I said this feels intentional, some of y'all are like, no, Pascal, no, don't say that. But then why would it be on why would it be on cruise control? Literally. That makes no sense. If that's true. That makes what? So where was everybody else? Just chilling in the mess hall playing Jim Rummy? What's going on here? That makes no sense, guys. Let me play a little bit. Let me just do a little bit of more research. Let me see what this whole thing about, if it was possibly anchored down, the oil tanker being anchored down. Like I said, let's take that information with a grain of salt. I have yet to read anything that says any of that, but let's take a look. Let's hear what Sky News has to say. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Oils and other materials in those ships. There's probably the fuel oils that they carry and run on themselves. So the jet fuel may not be the thing we see coming ashore for years.
Rob, I do appreciate you reaching out into sort of your knowledge space there. It's very useful to kind of understand what kind of fuel may well be in the water and what impact it would have. And our viewers, I guess, will have in their mind's eye images of birds covered in crude oil and the cleanups that we've had to do in the past. You think possibly that may not happen in this particular instance, but why don't you talk to us about the environment there off the coast of East Yorkshire and some of the marine life that could be impacted by this incident?
Wow. Excellent. It's a big open coast, and we haven't dived much off Lincolnshire. It's
okay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt these beautiful, brilliant British accents from speaking, but I do have to share this and show this to you guys. Victoria is right. I appreciate the info. We gotta look at this. First off, some interesting info. So I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but they're saying that the actual tanker was indeed struck by the container ship. Okay. So the MV Stena Immaculate, the tanker, was actually struck by the container ship. Okay. According to the statement from Crowley, the company that manages the actual tanker. So the Stena Immaculate is a U.S. vessel that was anchored off the North Sea coast near Hull at the time. So yes, the tanker was chilling in the cut, y'all. Anchored. It's chilling, sitting, not moving. This container ship ran into the tanker. How does that happen? How? So, let's see. The Stena Immaculate sustained a ruptured cargo tank containing Jet 1 A1 fuel due to the collision. And this is what the statement said. A fire occurred as a result of the collision, and fuel was reported released. Okay. The scene, it was one of chaos, and the video footage published by the Guardian newspaper with both vessels apparently on fire and sending thick black smoke billowing into the gray North Sea sky. So let me repeat that one more time for those of y'all in the nosebleed seats. And yes, shout out to our one of our family members. Okay, one of our viewers. I mean, okay. It says here, and for some odd reason, my computer's tripping right now. So just ride with me, all right? Says the tanker, okay, the MV Stena Immaculate was struck by the Solong container ship, according to a statement from Crowley, the company that manages the actual tanker. The Stena Immaculate, which is a U.S. vessel, it was anchored off the North Sea coast near Hull at the time of the collision. So that boat was not moving anywhere, not nowhere, not doing not damn thing. It was just chilling. And then this container ship just came right through and just collided with the tanker. Again, why? Why? And then again, it's like if they were indeed on quote unquote autopilot, let's just say cruise control, why would that even happen? Why would they be on cruise control for something like this? Why would they be on cruise control, period? That doesn't make any sense. Why would the ship be, let's just say, unmanned, unattended, while it's blazing down the ocean? That makes no earthly sense to me. Again, seems a bit fishy. Seems a bit fishy to me. But let's continue a little bit more. I'm going to pull up a few other videos here. But let's hear just a little bit more from Sky News real quick.
It's short of the glamorous reefs and whatever, but there's some very
Makes no
important
sense.
fishing grounds because there's a lot of wildlife down there. With petrochemicals generally being lighter than water, they generally stay high in the water column, and then they'd wash ashore onto the surface, the shore, the beaches, and could sort of soak into coasts. They're not so likely to sink, but again, the particulates and the matter from those ships, if the ships sink, they'll be releasing materials at seabed level for years. So it's very hard to say how long it'll have an effect and how broadly. Particles and contaminants can travel quickly into important sort of parts of the food chain, and that can get concentrated into the kinds of things we eat pretty quickly, and that can leave sort of commercial stocks of animals tainted for years.
And it can have that lingering impact, can it then, Rob, that the fishing stocks could be affected by being in waters that has been contaminated by this kind of a spill?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to pretend that I'm all across what could happen. Just sort of, I know that it's taken sort of years for some places to recover after major spills, and lots of the effects are invisible. So we worry about the effects of sort of small amounts of domestic chemicals getting into the sea, so the problem of sewage collecting. And here we've got, is it 9,500 tons of a toxic petrochemical just disappearing into the water. It's hard to see how it could pass immediately and although it's massively diluted, it'll depend sort of where it strikes within the food chain, how much that affects us and
No doubt.
sort of the other animals on the coast. I mean, we've seen in recent years sort of, I mean, slight toxins in starfish causing dog fatalities on beaches, and here we've got something on a much, much larger scale, which will be sort of contact, sort of toxic, perhaps affecting holiday beaches and sort of riverbeds, recreational fishing, and all the wildlife that lives underneath for years to come.
He's not joking. I mean, he's not wrong. I mean, this is going to have some sort of effect on wildlife. Even the wildlife that we end up consuming as humans, right? The fish, etc. I mean, this is not good. This will have a ripple effect. Okay, this collision happens, and then someone sent Captain D's closing. Come on, but you know what I mean. Shoot, Long John Silver's. Anybody remember that one too? Shoot, is that still around? Long John Silver's. But anyway, like this is not good. You know what I mean? This is not good news. Period. On any of this. But hold on, I'm just grabbing a few things. It just doesn't make sense. How is this even possible, y'all? How is this even mother-loving possible? Let's take a look at this.
Breaking news, a rescue mission is underway after a U.S. oil tanker and Portuguese cargo ship collided off the coast of England. Now the oil tanker is on fire and the British Coast Guard is on the scene. Let's bring in foreign correspondent Marcus Moore in London with the latest on that story. Marcus, what are you following on this collision?
Well, Diane, this urgent rescue effort is underway as we speak right now off the UK's eastern coast. As you just mentioned, a U.S. flagged oil tanker and a Portuguese container ship collided. And we've seen some images that show what appears to be two vessels on fire and thick black smoke billowing into the air. We're working to get verified pictures turned around so we can show them to you. But this is happening just a few miles off the coast of Hull in eastern England. Right now, Diane, we don't know if there have been any injuries. We do know, however, that at least 30 people have been rescued and no information at this point on how these ships may have collided. But we know that the Coast Guard has sent rescue boats, at least one helicopter and a plane to the scene, which is about 4 hours from London in a car. And we'll continue to follow this and get any new developments as we get them. We'll, of course, pass them along to you, Diane.
Yeah, obviously, there's a few things that have been updated since this particular report. There's been a lot more information that has come out, but still, I think a lot of people are wanting to know what the heck happened here. And again, is the question is like, who could it be something sinister going on? Could it been some sort of environmentalist, activist group or something like that? I mean, I'm just asking all the possible questions. That could have been like, but then at the same time, I don't see it being an environmental activist group doing this, because why would they do that? Because let's be real, if they were to destroy that and cause this collision, they're causing hurt to the environment. So that wouldn't make any sense, right? So I don't know if it's that. It could just be laziness. It could have been just incompetent people on the ship not knowing or not doing what they were supposed to be doing to protect and make sure that this ship was on the right course, rather than it just going off like that. It just doesn't make any sense, guys. It just doesn't, right? Some people are saying tariffs, like Lil Patty's like related to tariffs. I don't know. I don't know about all that. I mean, like I said, why do it like that? Why do it like that? Okay. And yeah, S-Dubs, I don't, I'm just asking the question. Clearly, I don't think it's environmentalist, because why would environmentalists do something that would damage the environment? You see what I'm saying? That's damaging the ocean. That's damaging the wildlife in the ocean. So it'd be a completely dumb thing for them to do. to make a statement by doing something that they're fighting for in the first place, right? Damage the environment while they're fighting for the environment. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of dumb. That's another level of dumb, right? So I don't think it's the environmentalists. I think that this is a full-on either intentional thing where someone was keeping watch on the ship and just said, F it, or this is just incompetence, right? I don't know. Like, it's very odd. That's another good question too, S-Dubs. Do ships have a black box? I don't know. I would assume that they do. Right? But I don't know. Is this a bold is this a full-on mistake? This is just a full-on accident? Or do you think that this is intentional? It just feels like it is to me. I don't see how anyone could, if you're operating a ship and all your instruments, the equipment instruments that are used to keep you at bay from doing something like this, if all that stuff is there and it's a functioning ship and all the equipment is working, how on God's green earth does this happen in the first doggone place? That is the part that I'm like, riddle me this, Batman, because that part does not make any sense to me, right? So, I mean, we'll see what happens here, but man, this is not making any earthly sense. Let's take a look at what Sky News is saying real quick on this as well.
Are too. What technology is there in place or procedures for shipping to ensure that incidents like this don't really happen?
Well, there's a huge amount of regulations, laws, protocols, different jurisdictions, enormous amounts of history in the maritime world has gone into getting where ships are operated to today, generally in a very safe way. I mean, these accidents don't happen very often. And I think it's been all the media reports I've heard in the last few hours have stated that North Sea accidents are very rare these days. For instance, there are more aircraft issues taking personnel to and from rigs in the North Sea than there are collisions in ships in the last 10 to 15 years. So that shows you how safe generally shipping is. But collisions do occur. There are more ships than aircraft. The aircraft are controlled by a traffic controller, as you just mentioned. That isn't always the case with ships. Ships in places like the Dover Straits will report in so that those can be monitored by authorities on the shore side. And going into ports like Southampton or London or even the Hull, again, there may be a vessel traffic reporting system where there is information exchange and sometimes control of vessels going in and out of harbours. But on this particular incident, one vessel was at anchor on the high seas or on territorial waters, but on the seas, and the other vessel was on passage. And that wouldn't usually be controlled by the equivalent air traffic controller. Normally, that would be under the control of the two ships and their bridges and their personnel on the bridges. And they would be using a lot of new and excellent technology to assist them in making decisions regarding anti-collision.
New technology. Okay? New technology that would be used to prevent collisions like this from happening. That's what they have. Good, solid, new, up-to-date, advanced technology to avoid collisions like this from happening. So again, I keep asking, how on God's green earth did this happen? Yes, it's catastrophic. Yes, it's terrible. We got 32 individuals allegedly now that have lost their lives. And I'm gonna pull this up. But so all crew from oil tanker are accounted for and safe, which is great. But of course, there have been allegedly 32 other casualties in regards to this. Again, it's weird. You got a ship that's anchored. You got another ship that's just going its course, and suddenly still having to collide into this ship, which again, if they have really great advanced technology, even if they had the most rudimentary of technology that still lets them know that they're on the right course, that they are not in any way of hitting any type of other ships, how could this have happened? Now, again, he just said, we heard it, collisions happen all the time, or collisions have happened in the past, and collisions can happen in the future. But at the same time, this is just odd. Still, no matter what, it's still odd. It's not like it happens every single day. And he even said there are more ships than there are planes in the ocean. That's a lot of ships, y'all. Do you know how many planes are flying in the air right now as we speak? More than I can even count. All right. There's planes flying everywhere, every which way. And if they're saying that there's more ships than there are planes in the air that are out there in the ocean, the possibilities of them having collisions all the time is at an all-time high. So how does something like this actually happen? Again, something about this just seems a bit odd, but there's something, I don't know if he's saying anything big here, but I wanted to play it real quick because it might be an update.
From the Reuters news agency, and that is that the Stena Immaculate tanker, we're told, this is according to a US military spokesperson, it was on a short-term charter to US military Sea Lift Command when it was hit off the northeast coast in England. So that is the US military suggesting that this tanker was on a short-term charter to US military Sea Lift Command when it was hit this morning. And two maritime security sources have also, and this comes via Reuters again, said there was no indication of any malicious activity or other actors involved in this incident. So they are suggesting that there is no indication of any malicious activity when it comes to this incident this morning.
Interesting. He's also now saying that there was no malicious intent, that this was not intentional, that this was a full-on mistake, an accident, that this ship was on its way to a base, okay? This tanker was on its way to a base, hence the A1, the Jet A1 fuel. I get that piece, right? They're on the course to do that, and then this accident happened. Now they're saying that this is an accident, fully. But I think that's very interesting. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't believe them. I wonder how they figured that out. I wonder how they got the math and figured all that out in just a few short hours. But at the same time, if this was a full-on mistake, then this was a mistake, I guess. But again, how does something like this happen, period, point blank? Don't make no sense to me, guys. It don't. Okay? It really does not make any sense. It doesn't. But again, I'm not investigating the situation. Maybe they have more information. How does this happen? Did somebody fall asleep on the yoke? What happened here? It just, like I said, the math ain't mathing for me. But of course, hopefully we'll find out more information here soon. Yeah, Rachel, I have so many questiones. Okay, but I'm an inquisitive mother lover. That's just who I am. You know, I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes it's annoying. Sometimes it's very helpful. This one, it's a soft side eye for me. Seems a little bit weird to me, but we'll see what happens, guys. That is the show. Appreciate all y'all for being here. Means a lot. Okay. If we get more information, we'll talk about it for sure. Okay. But before you head out, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. That'd be really appreciated. If you are watching on those other platforms, make sure you hit that follow button, okay? Follow me on those platforms. Go over to my secondary channel, The Pascal Show. Subscribe over there. Subscribe here on my main channel. Hit that notification bell so you know whenever we go live, whenever we upload. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right? Hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon and my locals, and don't forget to check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there, so go check it out. Okay, guys? But y'all stay safe. We'll be back on in a couple hours, and I'll see you guys very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.